Hey, BookTube. Thought I'd play a reading recap with you. Still working on Oppenheimer here. Since we last spoke, had some unpleasant oral surgery. So, yeah, that took me off reading for a bit, but I'm recovering. Got to do a little bit better reading this week when I could. I'm up to 324 pages here. They just dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A truly horrific account. And we're leading into the aftermath of that in terms of Oppenheimer's life, the lives of others. This book introduces a lot of people. I actually am having a bit of trouble keeping track of a handful of them. But yeah, it's not just him. There's a lot going on, a lot of people involved. But we're dealing with the aftermath here, and his, or what we know of his feelings on that. And you know what? There's an emphasis here. I'm not sure if it was how much was emphasized in the film or not. I saw the film once, and I don't recalling certain aspects. But the bomb was being built to destroy the Nazis, and that all fell apart or imploded, however you want to put it, before the bomb was done. But that bomb was going to get dropped, and that bomb wound up being dropped on Japan, and the people working on the bomb weren't really down for that. It wasn't, part of the deal in a way. But all notes to the Oppenheimer and the scientists behind the scenes, Japan was pretty much ready, or in talks of trying to find a way to get out of the war. They knew they were losing, and knowing that, we still dropped the bomb. Two of them, to horrific results. So yeah, I don't always hear a lot of emphasis on our foreknowledge of them wanting to get out. There was a lot of talk here among the scientists about, proceeding forward. How they really thought the bomb would just end all wars. That once you're in the face of it, it's just destruction of everything. What are you going to do? And so there was hope that it could bring about peace, but they also feared that exactly what happened was an arms race. And well, we're dealing with nonsense of that now. We're spending billions of dollars a day. So Iran doesn't have a bomb, which then we're going to have a bomb. This fucking nonsense. Anyway, so it's a very interesting read. Really well written. The only part I think I had any issue with it just there's such a heavy emphasis earlier on, like a very about Oppenheimer's communist leanings, or earlier on what he was involved in and stuff like that. Just which comes up later in life. So I understood it, but there seemed to be a more put on that than at least at the time felt need be. Maybe I know that it ties up more in the end here, but I'm glad I picked this up. And I know I'm going through this slowly, probably way too slowly for most of you, but a big point of me talking about my reading progress here is because I'm not the fastest reader, but I also don't. If I'm reading something simple, I could read it much faster. But all the book channels out there, and I know that it can be intimidating when somebody's like, I read 30 books this week, or I read 100 books this week, or like, how many did you read? And I think you can feel pretty beaten down by that sometimes, rather than inspired. And I just let you know, You know, you go at the pace you can. If I can only get a little bit done at a time, then so be it. Sometimes I can knock out 20 pages. Sometimes I'm only knocking out a page or two, or sometimes even half a page if I'm that tired. But I'm working my way through here, and before that, it's kind of like starting with a blank paper. You just start writing or drawing or something. Eventually, you fill up the paper. It's the same thing with reading. So I'm hoping that, if anything, if you're like me and have limited time, and I'm not somebody who's gaming all the time. I don't game at all. Rats ask about games, or social media. And if anything, I very limited social media, and if anything, social media was one of the reasons why I kind of drifted back towards reading, because I saw how much time. One day I just looked at how much time I was spending on it, and I was like, God, you could have read some of these books you got around you rather than this nonsense, which means nothing. And I dropped most of it and started putting an emphasis on reading. And sometimes I read quick, and sometimes I read slow. In this case, it's slow, but it's very interesting. It's worth reading. So I hope you find the same. Appreciate you checking in. Take care.